Hello everybody, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 43 of Ask Jerry Tachoir. If you'd like to ask me a question, once again, go to my website, tachoir.com, Tachoir, tachoir.com, and in the upper right-hand corner is a Contacts tab. Just click on that little button, and it'll take you to a page where you can fill out your information and ask your question, and perhaps we'll do one of these videos. And I also ask if you would go ahead and subscribe to this channel. It seems to help a lot with the algorithms, and it's no big deal. So just hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified then when new videos come out and made available to you. So today's question comes from Michael in British Columbia. Hello, Jerry. Really love your playing, and you get the best sound on vibes ever. Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I do work a lot to get a nice tone. That's real important to me. I'm a multi-percussionist, but lately I seem to be spending a lot of time on trying to perfect my technique on the mallets. Even though you make it seem so easy, it really isn't. True. My question is more of a personal inquiry. I know you too were a classical percussionist in the Pittsburgh area. At what point did you decide to concentrate on mallet percussion, and why and how hard is it to make a living only playing keyboard percussion? I'm feeling the pull, but not sure I can get enough work. Looking forward to your answer. Thanks again, Michael. So, Michael, everybody finds their own path in music. When I was a percussionist in the Pittsburgh area, and I was playing with all the orchestras at that time, including the International Symphony in Switzerland, even though I was one of the, I think there was like 5 or 6 of us percussionists, even though I was one of them, I was generally the guy that got all the mallet parts, because everybody knew I could read, and I could read mallet parts real easy, and I seemed to be the guy that always got the mallet call. So I did all the xylophone, the bells, the chimes, vibes, marimba, anything that came up with mallets was my thing. Even though, yes, I did play occasionally when there was no mallet parts, I would play some of the miscellaneous percussion parts that were assigned to me. But generally, I seemed to get those. With that being said, excuse me, with that being said, if you would have told me at that time, again, this was like 70, 72, 73. If you would have told me at that time, Jerry, your future says that you're going to be predominantly a jazz mallet artist, vibraphone and marimba, and I would have like, no way, because being a multiple percussionist in the classical world was what I gravitated to, which I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the music. I loved being part of an organization like that. It's a clean gig. You didn't really have to do much in terms of booking anything. You just had to show up and play your part accurately every time, and you played some of the better halls and got a nice paycheck all the time. So I had no aspirations on doing anything else other than what I was doing. At one point, though, I started hearing jazz, and I remember, I always tell the story that I had a friend who was my ride home. I was too young to drive at that time. So he said, I got these tickets to go to the Pittsburgh Three Rivers Jazz Festival. Do you want to go? And to be honest with you, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to support anything other than classical music. I was a real classical music snob. So anyway, reluctantly, I went to this concert because I needed to ride home. At this concert, it turned me. I mean, it really did. It was the Herbie Hancock Band, Ron Carter on bass, Tony Williams on drums. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And I watched these guys, and they were having such fun. They were playing, and it just felt so good. And at that point, I realized I really wanted to learn more about jazz and what it, because I liked the idea of interpreting and of taking liberties, of exploring and improvisation, yet I knew nothing about it. I did have a band at that time in high school, and we played a lot of like weddings and kind of like social events like that. And we sort of improvised on pop tunes. We would just kind of noodle around with the melody a little bit. And that was fun, but I really didn't know what I was doing other than embellishing the melody. At a very early age, I had an endorsement with the Ludwig Musser Company. Mr. Ludwig signed me on. And I toured all over the United States and Canada with him doing clinics and concerts and performances, and it was a lot of fun as a predominantly classical mallet artist. One day we're sitting down having lunch, and he wanted to introduce me to a fellow muster clinician. His name was Gary Burton, and he said, would you mind if Gary came and joined? I said, no, that'd be great. So as I was talking to Gary, I realized, he's a jazz vibraphone artist, and I started asking him questions. I needed to know about improvisation. I really don't know how to begin or what to do. And he said, well, come to Berkeley, be my student. That's how I really got into the jazz aspect of mallet percussion. Now, regarding like making a living, everybody, like I said, finds their niche. And I can honestly say at one point it was a lot easier being involved with an orchestra where you were just told, here's your schedule, here's where you got to go, here's what it pays, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty easy. However, my personality dictated that I wasn't satisfied just playing dead composers' music over and over again, every season, just the same thing, just moving from different halls to different halls and traveling. And even though it was a great gig, paid well, I was kind of frustrated, and I couldn't see my future as doing that forever. My personality says, Jerry, you got to create, you got to develop. So the jazz world gave me that. And now I can take my technique as a mallet percussionist, and then I learned how to improvise. I learned how to analyze chord changes and how to play over the modes and develop melodies and everything else that goes with it. And this is what I do. This is what I do all the time. Now, working as a mallet percussionist, interesting so, when I moved to Nashville, the word got out that I was coming to town and that there's this mallet percussion guy and he can read anything. And right away, I got all the calls for anything that was like mallet percussion oriented. I was the vibraphone player, the marimba player, the xylophone, the chimes, the bells. I mean, I made a good living. And I'll tell you a funny story is I got a call one time, Jerry, do you own a set of glockenspiel? I said, I do. He said, okay, a session tomorrow at 10 o'clock, be there. And I said, okay. So I showed up at this recording session, I set up my bells, right? And he hands me a piece of music and had 3 notes on it. So I said, all right. So I took one mallet, ding, 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 whatever, I forget what the notes were. I just played it. And I felt so bad. I mean, it took me like a second to play it. And I said, let's do take 2. Let me just try some softer mallets to see if I can make it sound a little bit more mellow. So I did that just to give them 2 takes. So anyway, I got paid for that. And the interesting thing is, since I was the only guy there, I was also the leader. Leader gets double scale. So I made a beaucoup amount of money for that one session playing 3 notes. And then it was like, I think 9 weeks later, another check showed up in the mail for the same amount. And I called up the guy that hired me. I said, hey, I've already been paid for this. Why am I getting this check? Is this a mistake? Because I didn't want to cash the check and then realize, oh, pay me back. Oh, I already spent it. So anyway, he said, no, it went into syndication. So as long as it's in syndication, you will get paid every so many months for doing a session. And I made an absolute load of money on 3 notes. So that's kind of the funny world that we live in. Now, not all sessions are like that, obviously. Not all work is like that. But you will get some that's like astounding what it brings into you in terms of financial gain. With what I'm doing, though, right now, I have my own band, jazz quartet, vibraphone, piano, bass, and drums. We tour around. We do a lot of the jazz festivals. We do clinics, college dates, improvisation, and things like that. But we exclusively do original jazz. It's our sound. It's the Jerry Tachoir group, and we play our sound. And we get paid what we get paid, what we negotiate up front, and that's the way it goes. I also have a jazz duo with my wife. She's a very talented keyboard player, vocalist, perfect pitch, and she writes actually probably about 99.9% of the music that we play. So I'm real fortunate to have that relationship. But her and I do a lot of duo things, and it seems like the college crowd really digs it because, well, first of all, college budgets have dropped. So it's more expensive to bring in the quartet than it would be just the duo. So the duo, we go in and we do a master class. We talk about improvisation and things like that, and then we do a concert in the evening, and we get obviously paid for that. So you find your niche, and maybe as a mallet percussionist, there's like not as much work as, say, a guitar player or a piano player. But if you're going to be a mallet percussionist, you pretty much have to be a leader. You have to be the guy who's in charge, that sets up the date, that books the gigs, that negotiates the pay raises and all that kind of stuff. And it seems to work. It's worked very well for me, and I've been very fortunate because of my reputation with the orchestras and developing as a mallet percussionist. So that opened up a lot of doors. Regarding you, I don't know. I mean, this is a different world than it was 30 years ago in terms of the recording industry and things like that. But we adapt. I mean, there's a lot going on right now with the internet and people stealing music and not getting paid for music. I mean, it used to be that if you'd go on tour, you would sell records, and that gave you a substantial income, just record sales. Well, those days are gone. Nobody seems to buy records or CDs or anything anymore, so they stream everything, and streaming pays nothing. I mean, I have checks on my desk for 2 cents, which represents like 10,000 streams on Spotify or something stupid. So you're not going to get money that way, but you use your music and your recordings kind of as your business card to open the door then to getting you gigs to do concerts and events and jazz festivals and club dates if you want to do that route. And again, that's really all I can say. It's a struggle, yes. Is it a worthy struggle? Absolutely. I love what I'm doing now. I love the fact that if we're taking music and we're creating and spontaneously developing things, and I'm not like reading dead composers' music over and over and over again, season after season. So that's what I do, and I know I didn't give you a whole lot of information, but again, it varies from person to person and how your personality dictates what you want to do. So, Michael, I wish you the best, and if you like mallet percussion, go for it. Put out your card as a mallet percussionist and see what doors open up. You never know. Each section of the country and Canada and all are unique, and they have different opportunities. And I know a lot of orchestras will hire a mallet percussionist exclusively as a mallet percussionist. So you have that door available to you as well. So I wish you the best. Take care, and please, folks, ask me some questions. I'm looking forward to them. Take care. Bye-bye.